I was about to receive the Employee of the Year award. Until my 8-year-old son walked onto the stage and said, "Mom, why did you leave Grandma alone to die?" The ballroom glittered with gold lights and expensive smiles. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen fireworks while waiters floated between tables carrying wine glasses worth more than my first monthly salary. Cameras flashed. Executives laughed too loudly. My name echoed through the speakers every few minutes. Tonight, the host announced proudly, "We celebrate leadership, sacrifice, and success." Everyone clapped. Especially for me. I sat at the front table beside the CEO of Orion Global Holdings, wearing a silver dress that cost 3 weeks of groceries. My makeup was flawless. My posture was perfect. But my hands were shaking under the tablecloth. Because my mother had died 3 days earlier. And nobody in that room knew. Not even my own son. Vanessa Reyes, the host continued dramatically, rose from poverty to become the youngest regional director in company history. Thunderous applause exploded across the ballroom. Someone behind me whispered loudly, "She's unstoppable." Another voice added, "That woman sacrificed everything to get where she is." They had no idea how true that was. I smiled for the cameras while guilt crawled through my chest like broken glass. 3 days earlier, my mother had called me 14 times. 14. I ignored every single call. At the time, I was preparing for the biggest presentation of my career, the one that would secure my promotion and finally prove to everyone that I wasn't the poor girl from the province anymore. My assistant had warned me. "Ma'am, your mother keeps calling." I didn't even look up from my laptop. "Tell her I'm busy." "But she sounds weak." I said I'm busy. That was the last thing I ever said about my mother while she was alive. Hours later, a neighbor sent me a message. "Your mother collapsed alone in the kitchen." By the time I arrived at the hospital, she was already gone. The doctor spoke gently. "She kept asking for you." Those 5 words destroyed something inside me. But instead of grieving properly, I returned to work the next morning. Because success doesn't wait for broken people. Or at least that's what I kept telling myself. Back in the ballroom, the host smiled brightly. "And now, our Employee of the Year." The giant screen displayed my face. Everyone stood. Clapping. Cheering. Some employees were even crying. I walked toward the stage slowly, forcing confidence into every step. The CEO handed me the trophy. "You're an inspiration," he whispered. The audience roared louder. I stepped toward the microphone. "This award," I began emotionally, "is proof that hard work." Suddenly, a small voice interrupted from the back of the ballroom. "Mom?" The room fell silent. Every head turned. My 8-year-old son, Lucas, stood near the entrance wearing wrinkled pajamas and holding a backpack almost bigger than his body. His eyes were red from crying. Beside him stood my younger sister Elena, furious. "Lucas?" I whispered. My heart stopped. He slowly walked toward the stage while hundreds of executives stared in confusion. Then he asked the question that shattered my entire life. "Mom, why did you leave Grandma alone?" A horrible silence swallowed the room. I froze. Lucas continued, his tiny voice trembling. "She kept calling you." My breathing became uneven. "Grandma told me," he said softly, "that work was more important." People in the audience started whispering. Someone gasped loudly. The CEO's expression changed instantly. Elena suddenly shouted from the back. "Tell them the truth, Vanessa." I could barely stand. "Elena, please." "No," she screamed. "You abandoned the woman who sacrificed her entire life for you." The audience stared at me in horror. Elena marched closer, tears streaming down her face. "Do you know what your mother was doing before she collapsed?" she cried. "She was cooking your favorite soup because she thought you might finally visit her." I covered my mouth. My knees weakened. Lucas looked up at me with heartbreaking confusion. Mom, did success make you stop loving Grandma? The entire ballroom went dead silent. And for the first time in years, I had no speech. No strategy. No defense. Only shame. Real shame. I looked at the trophy in my hands. Suddenly it felt disgusting. Heavy. Meaningless. I remembered my mother washing clothes by hand at midnight so I could attend school. I remembered her skipping meals so I could eat. I remembered her telling me, success means nothing if the people you love feel abandoned. And I had become the exact person she warned me about. Without another word, I placed the trophy on the podium. Then I stepped down from the stage. In front of everyone. The CEO tried to stop me. Vanessa, wait. But I walked straight toward my son. Knelt in front of him. And broke completely. I cried harder than I had in years. I'm sorry, I whispered repeatedly. I'm so sorry. Lucas hugged me tightly. And at that moment, inside the most luxurious ballroom in the city, I realized I was the poorest person there. Because I had traded time, love, and family for applause from strangers. 3 months later, I resigned from my executive position. People called me crazy. Some said I threw away my future. But they were wrong. For the first time in my life, I finally understood what success actually meant. Now, every Sunday, Lucas and I visit my mother's grave together. And every single time, I repeat the lesson I learned too late. Never become so successful that the people who loved you during your struggle feel forgotten during your victory. Moral lesson. True success is meaningless if it costs the people who mattered most on the journey. Money, titles, and applause can never replace love, presence, and family.